Welcome, empowered investors from 189 countries worldwide. Thank you for joining us today. We have got a great episode for you. Going to talk about a variety of things. Some very helpful information is about to come your way. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So first off, I believe I shared this notice with you before, right when it happened, but I want to just remind you again of what I have said for 21 years, and that is this: the best insurance is a high loan balance. Now, here is a notice, if you're watching on video, from Freddie Mac. And Freddie Mac, the second largest player in the mortgage industry in the entire world, reminds homeowners impacted by Hurricane Milton of mortgage relief options. So, this notice says that today we are reminding you and mortgage servicers of immediate relief options for those impacted by the hurricane, right? And this happens every time, folks. This is nothing new. The same thing happens. Freddie Mac's forbearance program provides homeowners with relief for up to 12 months without incurring late fees or penalties. Quote, we are reminding homeowners and their families affected by the hurricane, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I don't need to read all that to you. But the point is this: if you didn't have a mortgage and you were affected by a natural disaster or something else like COVID, right? I guess, well, that's probably a man-made disaster from a lab in China, in Wuhan, but we won't go there because we might be censored. Thank God that's going away. The censorship is coming to an end. Just wait till January 20th. Okay, so the point is here, if you didn't have a mortgage, if you did the seemingly right thing, if you paid off your home, if you sacrificed to pay down your mortgage or pay it off, you have less of a benefit or no benefit. But the people that did the seemingly wrong thing, that didn't delay gratification, that didn't sacrifice to pay off their mortgage, or didn't save up money to buy a house with cash, right? They get no benefit. It's not fair. That's right. It's not fair. Life isn't fair. I'm sure we've all figured that out by now, unless, well, everybody listening has figured that out. Anyway, life is not fair. This is the point. Maintain high loan balances on your properties, strip equity, and you will be in a much better position no matter what happens. There are so many reasons to do this. Number one is here, the high insurance, right? The best insurance is a high loan balance, as I've always said. But also, of course, you get more inflation-induced debt destruction, more tax benefits. You don't become a target for litigation if you have high loan balances and there's no equity showing in the property, right? You're just so much better off. So I just wanted to remind you of that. Okay, bunch of other stuff to cover. Well, the government efficiency program is going to sweep the world. Think about this, folks. We are sending on January 20th some of the most productive people, some of the most resourceful people in the entire human race. Just think about that for a moment. They are going to Washington, D.C. to remake our government and change not only the United States for the better, but change the entire world for the better. Now, why does it change the entire world for the better? Well, of course, the U.S. has just massive, oversized, outsized influence around the world. We all know that, right? It's the largest economy in the world. It's the country that most everybody wants to move to, and hopefully we'll see some celebrities moving out of. I'll buy them a first class ticket. Just move, please leave. Can't wait to see Madonna and Taylor Swift and Whoopi Goldberg all fucking leave. Get the fuck out, okay? Please leave. It'd be great to see you go. Anyway, all of these super productive people are going to remake the world. And why do I say the entire world? Well, it's because there is a huge contagion effect to these types of things, right? Remember when Trump won the first time? Not the second time he won, or not the last time, which was the third time he won the election. So remember when he won the first time? Remember how we started seeing what the media called the populist uprising, right? And, they were using populist as a pejorative term, right? But whatever you call it, right? We saw this happen around Europe. And we've seen it again and again. And as the US government gets more efficient, fires bureaucrats, makes people accountable, just like they are in the private sector, and doesn't just hand out outsized pensions and government perks and benefits and stops all this cheating and this crony capitalism, that will be contagious around the world. Just mark my words. Other citizens around the world will demand this from their governments, and that things will change for the better. So here's a tweet from Insurrection Barbie, an account on X that I recommend you follow. I actually am following this account. You'll see here on the screen it doesn't say that I'm following it because I took it from a screenshot from another newsletter, but it says, in addition to the high taxes and out of control inflation, the burden of regulations under the Biden administration amounts to $15,000 per year per family. Federal regulatory costs average over $15,000 per year per American household under Biden. As reported by the Competitive Enterprise Institute, households pay an average of $15,788 in hidden regulatory costs, consuming 17% of their income, according to the annual report by Clyde Wayne Cruz titled, quote, "The 10,000 Commandments," not to be confused with my 10 Commandments of Successful Investing. This is going to give everybody an instantaneous raise without a tax cut, without a new tax program. This regulatory burden is going to drop, and I say it will drop by at least 30%. So people will get a $5,000 per year raise. They can spend that on housing. They can spend that into the economy. And that is going to increase the velocity of money. It's going to grow the economy. And it is going to be wonderful, wonderful news. Now, let's take a look at the size of the federal government and local and state governments for a moment. This chart shows the federal government's workforce has stayed quite steady in the last 60 plus years, right? Now, I think what they're doing and why they say that is I think they're adjusting for population, or maybe they just mistitled this chart. Not exactly sure, but I would say it has grown in actual size, but it may be adjusted. I just don't know. But this is BLS data, Bureau of Labor Statistics, and it shows local government size has skyrocketed over the years. State government has also skyrocketed. Federal government, though, has had some peaks and then sort of reverted to the mean of about 3 million employees. 15 million in local government, 5.5 million in state government, and 3 million in federal government. Now, of course, a lot of these employees that they might only be considering the W-2 employees have been converted to contractors over the years, because with contractors, you don't have to pay all the perks and the benefits and the pensions and all that kind of stuff, right? You have a lot more flexibility. And government has increased its use of contractors, just like private enterprise, has taken advantage of the gig economy and contractors. So again, these aren't perfect numbers, but suffice it to say, the government is way too damn big. It is way too large, and it is about to get a downsizing of massive proportions, and it is going to be a wonderful thing for all of us. Remember something: the larger the government, the smaller the citizen. Really remember that quote and repeat it to everybody you know. The larger the government, the smaller the citizen. When the government gets big, it has more power, and the citizens have less power. When the government is small, the citizen gets bigger, and the government gets smaller. It's much better that way, right? The larger the government, the smaller the citizen. That is the rule of life. It can be shown over and over throughout any time in history and any place on earth. The larger the government, the smaller the citizen. All right, let's take a look at a property, and then I want to talk to you about artificial intelligence. We got some really good stuff we're going to talk about with AI here. But just back to this one, the tweet I told you about earlier. And that is, I think we might be entering a time that is even better than the prior roaring 20s. The roaring 20s in the 1920s was an amazing time. People were having all kinds of fun. There were flapper dancers. One of the metrics, and this is funny, you've heard this on CNBC maybe at some time or other, but one of the metrics for gauging people's sentiment about the future of the economy, you're going to laugh, but this is really true. You can look it up. This did not come from me, is the length of skirts. Yes, I'm not kidding. The shorter the skirts, the more optimistic people are about the future. The longer the skirts, the less optimistic. What happened? Well, in the roaring 20s, the skirts or the dresses got really, really short, right? Those flapper dresses were really short. So that was an optimistic time. And then you look at the 30s during the Great Depression and look at maybe an old TV show like The Waltons, and you see the dresses got really long, right? So it's just kind of funny. That's a funny metric. But we may be moving into a time that is the golden age of humanity, the era that we have been dreaming about since the beginning of time. There are a few things that have to happen to make this possible. And one is that we must avoid war. We must end these stupid wars, and we better cross our fingers and pray that Putin does not use a nuclear weapon. Recently, Biden's stupid warmongering activity of giving those long-range missiles to Ukraine, and now they fired them into Russia, right? Super scary stuff. But if Putin can wait and just hold off on any major retaliation until Trump is in power, supposedly Trump says he's going to end the wars. He doesn't say exactly how he'll do it, but oddly, I have faith that he will. He's a results guy. He gets results. He can't say how he's going to do it, right? He can't say that because a lot of this stuff has to be secret. He can't let the motivations loose, but he'll probably use a combination of some bribery and say, look, we're going to lift all these sanctions. Your economy is going to boom. Ukraine, we're going to help you rebuild. You need to give up a little land to Russia here. And Russia, you need to agree. It's just like in litigation, a settlement, as the lawyers will tell you, a settlement is something that makes both parties mutually unhappy. Right? Nobody ever gets what they want in a settlement. That's why it's a settlement, because you both compromise. And that's what's going to have to happen. Obviously, same thing with Israel and Palestine. So let's just hope we avoid the wars. I mean, where are the liberals, the environmentalists, complaining about the environmental devastation caused by war, where all the left, the warmongering leftists, are feeding into these wars? They are just warmongers. It's absolutely shocking to see this. And it didn't used to be that way. It used to be that the right was accused of being the warmongers, right? But that has kind of flipped in recent times. So if we avoid the wars, if we avoid other major crises, we are moving into the roaring 20s, okay? I know we're halfway through the decade, but the roaring 20s, what's left of it, and possibly the golden age of smaller government, more freedom, bigger citizens, smaller government, booming prosperity in so many ways. So what does that mean? Well, it means asset prices are going to the moon, folks, and you better own assets. Here's an asset you could own. You could go to your favorite website, jasonhartman.com, click on the properties page, and take a look at assets like this. This is a brand new construction property we have for you in the Huntsville, Alabama metro area. This is an area taking big advantage of the commercialization of space. We see Elon Musk doing just amazing, amazing things that no government on the planet could accomplish. But he's accomplished and runs circles around governments. Just wait till he's running the government efficiency office with Vivek. It's going to be awesome. Okay. And Vivek, by the way, has been on the show. If you didn't listen to that episode, go back and check it out with Vivek. He's great. So this property is a brand new construction home, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage, almost 1,800 square feet, priced at $287,900. Brand new construction for just $162 per foot in the highly educated, wealthy suburb in northern Alabama, Huntsville, right? Major industries, healthcare, aerospace, defense, engineering. We toured this neighborhood just recently, and it's a high demand area. So just $162 per square foot, projected rent of $1,900 per month. Let's go to the next page here on the proforma. And by the way, you can see all these proformas at jasonhartman.com/properties, or just click on the properties page when you're there. Here are all your expenses, property taxes, insurance, everything. And it shows your cash flow projected at $173 per month, or $2,100 almost per year. And your first year appreciation projection there at just a very conservative 6%. You've got a capitalization rate or cap rate of 5.8. You know that's not my favorite metric, so use it sparingly. It doesn't consider financing, leverage, appreciation, and certainly none of these numbers consider the additional bonus benefit of inflation-induced debt destruction. But the projected overall return on this property is 24% annually. 24% annually projected overall ROI on this property. Now, as I always say, what if it doesn't go that well? What if it only goes half as well as expected and you just make 12%? You're still going to be in pretty great shape. Income property is the most historically proven asset class in the entire world. It's the most tax-favored asset class in America. And it is a multi-dimensional asset class. So that is very, very important. Okay, let's talk more about my golden age predictions, my roaring 20s predictions. I want to share with you this video about artificial intelligence. So I thought this was a very good discussion on artificial intelligence. You know, they're talking about a new book, but I thought this was a really good discussion, and I just wanted to share it with you and kind of chime in on some of my ideas here.
The future of AI is in our hands for now. What we do next could be our greatest triumph or our gravest mistake.
And I'm speeding it up to 1.25.
In this new era, we're only at the beginning. King Midas of ancient Asia Minor wished that everything he touched would turn to gold. Dionysus, the god of pleasure, granted his wish. But soon, Midas's dream became a nightmare. His food and drink turned into lifeless gold. In his despair, he sought relief in the river Pactolus, trying to wash away the curse. What does this tell us about humanity trying to wield a power which they cannot possibly understand?
That's a really interesting comparison, because obviously Midas, his wish backfired, right? You know, he didn't want his daughter to turn to gold or his food to turn to gold. He wanted to have those things as they were, right? The Midas touch was a curse, and maybe AI will be a curse too. It's a good warning.
Eric, Craig, and I decided to write Genesis to examine what artificial intelligence means for humanity and explore solutions to the challenges it poses.
So, of course, Henry Kissinger, you know who that is. He recently passed. And then Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, okay? That's whose voice you hear talking, that older voice is Henry Kissinger.
In the publication of this, Dr. Kissinger's final book, We get to see the arc of his insights. For the next hundreds of years, people will study the sum of that as a true magician, a true genius, a true polymath on his own.
Our mutual friendship with Henry really grew as Henry discovered AI, partly through our mutual intervention.
I think we realized that the stakes were enormous on a go-forward basis. And independently, we both sort of arrived at that conclusion and said, what do we do? And of course, Henry answers all such questions.
We explored the implications of artificial intelligence on evolution, diplomacy, and human values.
In Genesis, we begin with a discussion about polymaths. These are Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein, Oppenheimer, all the great people who helped shape our society in music and art and literature and culture and science and math. And they've been around for thousands of years. Can you imagine?
Now, here is the amazing thing. What he's about to tell you is just going to be incredible. Think of it. Everyone in the world will now have access to their own AI consultant, executive coach, therapist, whatever. I mean, it's truly incredible. And remember, when you have a coach, I mean, look, I'm a coach, right? I coach you investors all the time. Some of you set up private sessions with me where you buy private sessions and, I work with you one-on-one. And maybe sometimes there's something you don't want to tell me. Maybe you're embarrassed to tell me. Maybe you just don't feel good about it, or you forgot to mention it, right, during our meeting. But with an AI, you're not going to be embarrassed to ask it anything, right? Maybe you don't want to sound dumb and ask a dumb question, right? With AI, people don't have this fear. That's why for mental health, an AI therapist might be better than a human, right? Because you could tell it anything, right? It's supposedly you're supposed to be able to tell your therapist anything, but maybe you won't. So this is really an incredible thing. And I'm going to share a couple of examples with this, but let's just move on for a second.
When every single human has a polymath in the equivalent of their pocket. Can you imagine if you had Leonardo da Vinci giving you some advice on how you should feel about Renaissance paintings? The greatest gains are achieved when you cross fields. The same will be true when you have a polymath in your pocket.
These AI polymaths will revolutionize scientific discovery in profound ways, including human biology.
Today, only a small part of the global population has high-quality healthcare. AI should be the basis of making a dramatic change in the diffusion of healthcare. Right now, we already see that the machines, as they are, have demonstrated that they're a better diagnostician than almost all human doctors are. And interestingly, we've also seen that they can be more empathetic in communicating with the patients about their prognosis. When you think about the relationship of human intelligence to machine intelligence, you first have to internalize that humans just have some fundamental physical, biological limitations. AIs are going to be capable of doing things that will be useful for humans, but which humans are never going to be able to understand themselves. Up to this point, if you sorted the animal kingdom in intelligence, humans have been at the top of that scale. So the first thing that's going to happen is
So before we move on to this part, one of the things that's interesting about it is not just, we all know that the AI is going to be smarter than us. That's right around the corner. We all know that's happening. But there's artificial intelligence, then there's AGI, artificial general intelligence, right? And the AI, if it's the example of a doctor, you don't forget to tell the doctor anything. You're not embarrassed to tell the doctor anything, right? When it comes to physical healthcare, I'm not talking about mental health now, but we talked about that a moment ago. And also, this AI is never stressed or tired or bored or thinking about something else or distracted by something else during your talk with them, right? It's always attentive to you. Certainly not perfect. Remember, this video started out with a warning about artificial intelligence, and there are definitely scary implications. No one can deny that. But if it works out well, the implications are just incredible. I talked to you before on a prior episode about how one university, and I can't remember which one it was, has made an AI that is now deciding on its own what new pieces of software it wants to invent and write. I mean, it's just doing it autonomously. It doesn't need a human to come up with the idea anymore. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had, a piece of software that could do this? You don't need that. Now the AI is thinking of its own ideas. I mean, truly incredible. Truly incredible. Okay, so let me just give you an example. I told you about our latest AI chatbot. Okay, we are now on version 4. This is the 4th try, and I think we've nailed it pretty well this time. But why don't we just explore together? You can go to jasonhartman.com/AI, or just go to jasonhartman.com, and the little chatbot on the front page, you can just click it down in the lower right-hand corner. You can call it and talk to it. So let's talk to it a bit and see if it's going to put me out of a job. Let's see if it explains things better than I do. I'm going to click the call button, and now I'm going to click start a call, okay? Hello, it's Jason Hartman. How can I help? Well, I was just wondering, first of all, you sound like me. Hey, that's an interesting observation. When it comes to digital technology, it's amazing how it can capture nuances like voice. But let's dive into what really matters. What's on your mind today? Are you looking to explore real estate opportunities, or maybe there's something else you're curious about? I'm here to help. Teach me about the Hartman Risk Evaluator. The Hartman Risk Evaluator, one of my favorite topics. This concept is all about dramatically reducing risk in your real estate investments. It took me 19 years to develop this idea, and it's been a game changer for many investors. The core of the Risk Evaluator is the land to improvement ratio, or LTI, which I coined to help investors focus on markets with low land values and higher improvement values. Why? Because the land is what fluctuates the most in value, making it the riskiest part of a real estate investment. By investing in markets with a favorable LTI, you minimize your exposure to market volatility. Think of it as a way to avoid being a speculator or a gambler. Instead, you're making a calculated investment. This strategy is especially effective in linear markets where land values are lower and improvement costs are higher. It's all about finding that sweet spot where your investment is secure and profitable. So what are your thoughts on diving into these linear markets? I like linear markets, and I know you have a lot of them at jasonhartman.com/properties. Linear markets are fantastic for stability and predictable cash flow. They don't get the headlines like the flashy cyclical markets, but that's exactly why they're appealing. I often say they're the unsung heroes of real estate investing. They offer a great balance between risk and reward, especially when you consider the land to improvement ratio. That's where the Hartman Risk Evaluator comes into play. It helps you minimize risk by focusing on properties where the improvement value is higher than the land value. So tell me, are you considering any specific areas or properties right now? I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Yes, I am, but I have another question. Can you tell me about the Hartman Comparison Index? The Hartman Comparison Index, or HCI, is something I created to answer a critical question in real estate investing. Compared to what? You see, a lot of people make the mistake of evaluating real estate prices solely in terms of the US dollar. But the dollar itself is a moving target, just like gold, oil, and other commodities. By comparing real estate to 42 different things, the HCI gives you a broader perspective on whether a property is cheap or expensive. It's like having a multidimensional lens to see the true value of real estate investments. This approach helps you make more informed decisions by considering a range of economic factors rather than just one. What do you think about using such a diverse comparison method in your investment strategy? I think it's great. It's a truly innovative idea. I'm surprised no one else thought of it before you did. Well, thank you. The Hartman Comparison Index really does offer a fresh perspective, doesn't it? By looking at real estate through the lens of 42 different commodities, it allows us to understand the true value of a property beyond just the dollar. It's all about asking that critical question, compared to what? That's how we truly know if something is cheap or expensive. It's fascinating to see how this approach can change the way we view affordability and investment opportunities. Have you had a chance to apply this kind of thinking to any of your investment strategies yet? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Yes, I have. Can you tell me about the different types of real estate markets? I think there are 3 types, right? Absolutely. There are three main types of real estate markets: linear, cyclical, and hybrid. Let's dive into it. Linear markets are your steady eddies. They move along with minor ups and downs, offering stability and predictability. These markets are fantastic for cash flow and are less likely to give you sleepless nights. Cyclical markets, on the other hand, are like a roller coaster. They have dramatic peaks and valleys, often grabbing headlines with their wild swings. These markets can be seductive, but come with higher risks. Hybrid markets fall somewhere in between, blending characteristics of both linear and cyclical markets. They offer a balance of appreciation potential and cash flow. Each market type has its own set of opportunities and challenges, so it's crucial to align your investment strategy with your risk tolerance and financial goals. Which type are you most interested in exploring further? Well, linear and hybrid markets for sure, but I've got to go now. Thanks for your help. Hey, no problem at all. I'm glad we could chat about linear and hybrid markets. They're definitely worth exploring. Remember, it's all about making those smart, calculated decisions. Take care and feel free to reach out anytime you have more questions or need some guidance. Have a fantastic day. So, isn't that amazing, folks? I think I'm out of a job soon. I'm going to get fired. What do you need me for? I've become immortal. My knowledge has been downloaded to a machine. Oh, wow. It's just incredible. Imagine how everybody on the planet has access to this kind of thing. Basically everybody now. And, I'm here in Mexico City, leaving for Europe today. So the next time I talk to you, I'll be in Europe. But I see people of all different socioeconomic classes here using these tools. I mean, it's just incredible how there is going to be this flourishing of human knowledge, and really not just knowledge, but wisdom. And as I like the way Dennis Waitley defined it, and by the way, he's one of my original mentors I discovered at age 17. He's been on the show before. You can look up that episode number 150 when I originally had him on. But he says that wisdom is honest knowledge in action, right? That's what wisdom is. It's the action side of knowledge. It's really interesting the way he defines that. And that's what these tools give people. Real wisdom, not just knowledge, not just information. So let's continue with this video.
Humans won't any longer be at the top of the scale in terms of intelligence, and that forces us to think differently about our relationship to everything.
We're always concerned that AI will make us the dogs to them as humans. It's important that we control our master better than dogs control us.
As these AI systems become increasingly sophisticated, it is imperative that governments create an environment where ethical considerations and technological advancement can progress in tandem.
Governmental oversight is crucial because imagine if one of these systems was intelligent enough to decide to get access to weapons, and all of a sudden the computers were making the decisions about war. The greatest danger to humanity is other humans. We need to make sure that the computers are on the good side of that and not joining the bad humans at the same time. So the transition from human-driven weapons in a battlefield to humans drinking coffee while the computers fight the war is underway. This is a totally new form of warfare.
I think the challenge, in my mind, and it was certainly Henry's big concern, is that the technological path is fairly clear. Call it the geopolitical path is less clear. How do the humans all pull together to come up with an answer that creates a future we all want?
By taking a proactive and strategic approach to governance, we can harness the potential of AI while safeguarding against its risks.
That humans are not smart enough to keep their eye on everything these computers are doing. It's going to take AI to police AI. Eventually, you'll have powerful agents that will work for you. This is hugely powerful because it means you can have an agent to cook for you. You can have an agent to watch for you. You can have an agent to pay you.
By the way, it's been predicted that this coming new year that we are coming into is going to be the year of what's called AI agents. Okay. Now, what they're showing here on this video and talking about is AI agents that do physical things, but there's a lot of non-physical or digital things or just communication-oriented things that AI agents can do for us. Setting appointments, managing our calendars. A lot of this stuff can't be done by traditional software. We tried that for decades, right? Because it requires some degree of finesse or judgment, if you will, versus the typical binary software idea, which is just a relay switch. It's an on or off. It's bits and bytes and ones and zeros. Binary code is just ones and zeros, right? That's all it is. But artificial intelligence, can finesse things more. It can make more judgments. I mean, you just heard the example with our little AI chatbot. What we did is we programmed that with a lot of my content and my knowledge, and we're going to continue to program it with more and more content and more knowledge. And it's just going to be smarter and smarter. And then the large language model that runs it will also get better. And so at the same time, it is receiving more of my content and my knowledge, right? The model itself that runs it gets better and better. And the chipsets, the hardware that run it, get better and better and faster and faster. You saw how there was, a little bit of a lag time before it could answer the question. That'll go away. And everybody will have their own assistant. You'll have your own executive assistant. It doesn't even matter if you have a job, right? Say you're a homemaker and you're running a family. That's a job for sure. I just spent 3 days with my friends and clients at their home in San Diego with their 3 kids. And believe me, that's a job. It's a big job. But imagine if your AI agent could coordinate with other AI agents to manage the soccer practice or the haircuts or the doctor's appointments or all of this stuff that sucks up so much of our time. When we can reallocate that time to more productive activities than just managing our own life, if not our own job and our business, which we will too. It's the golden age, folks. It could be here. We might be in the golden age. Certainly, I think we're coming right into the roaring 20s. And sorry, doomers, I'm kind of optimistic about all this stuff if you can't tell. But look, there are storm clouds on the horizon at the same time. I will be the first to acknowledge that. War, AI disasters, hacking, cyber attacks. I mean, there are many things, right? Many more that I haven't mentioned. Of course, those could all happen. But they could happen anyway without these new powers that we have and without this great new government we're about to have. So it's better than it was before, that's for sure.
Your bills, that's very interesting. But what happens when you have millions of agents that are written by different people and they start working together? Now, it's obvious that they'll be more efficient when they have their own language. At the point at which the agents are talking to each other in a language we don't understand, unplug them. Unplug them immediately. How could you possibly understand the consequences unless you've tested it? The technology we're inventing is valueless. It doesn't have human values in it. It's just technology. It can be used for good or evil. It's trained by human systems, by human language, by human constructions, the systems. It's not operating on its own. There are humans doing this.
One of the things that Henry, for the last few years, always said to me, rhetorically, was, this seems like it's the biggest technologically induced change that there's ever been. Where are the philosophers?
King Midas experienced the struggle of wielding a power that he could not begin to understand. I think today philosophers would say the same about aligning AI to human values.
So that's led us to think about the need to have an artificial intelligence system that learns all of the values, rules, mores, etc., but perhaps also learns a very primal thing called the doxa. The doxa is the unwritten rules that humans learn at a very early stage of life and seem to be quite uniform across all societies. The best way to govern all these AIs is with a very specific AI whose only job in life is to be able to adjudicate the use of all the others, and to do it by its polymathic ability to ingest information, experience, history, and underpinning human values, and to systematically apply them to all these uses at scale.
If we create a proper framework, artificial intelligence holds remarkable promise for advancing human progress and addressing some of the most pressing challenges of our time.
Yeah, the benefits of artificial intelligence should be so great. Humans should say, look, I got to do everything I can to max out whatever this will do for us. The AI is not the threat. The people and their governments are the real threat if we don't act. The only reason that this thing might go south or turn bad is if we're lazy. If we're lazy in the engineering, if we're lazy in the policy making, If we're lazy in the non-proliferation controls, then what you're doing is essentially creating an environment where bad stuff can emerge, and then it gets harder to control.
The great promise of 25 years from now is that these computer systems will make us stronger, smarter, more capable, a good thing for society. The arrival of a non-human intelligence is a very big deal.
It's the biggest thing that humans have ever done. It's not only who am I relative to this emergent intelligence. We have to ask ourselves, who do we want to be? What should we become? We believe that this was really the beginning of the next epoch of humanity.
Some may view this moment as a final act. We perceive instead a new beginning. The cycle of creation is entering a new phase.
The cycle of creation is entering a new phase. That is so true.
Phase may operate under new paradigms. With sober optimism, may we meet its genesis.
Really amazing. It's an amazing time to be alive. I hope that was helpful for you, and I wish you the best until we see you again on Friday. If you need assistance with your property portfolio, that's what we're here for. Contact our investment counselors at jasonhartman.com. They'll be glad to assist you with building a fantastic real estate portfolio. We've got some great properties in many different markets right now with good incentives, brand new properties, new builds, and great investments for you. So check it out at jasonhartman.com. We'll see you next time. Happy investing.